Welcome back to the Make Time for Success podcast. This is episode 141. If you're feeling like you'd like to develop your voice or improve the visibility you have in your field or in the world at large, this episode was made just for you. My special guest today is Shafonne Myers, and Shafonne is a media mogul and PR and marketing strategist who created the world's only site for plus-sized brides. She's also the CEO of a top wedding media company with over 30 wedding blogs, where she owns 10 of the publications. She's realized that her true zone of genius is helping creative entrepreneurs to build a brand, get publicity, and make sales online. And indeed, she has helped her clients and business partners close over $10 million in revenue. She's made it her mission to help entrepreneurs create their brand, create authentic content online, and cultivate high-level relationships that will help them to go from best-kept secret entrepreneur to sought-after celebrity CEO. She's definitely a celebrity in her own right. You're going to hear her story of how she decided to change the entire wedding industry a while ago and how the lessons she's learned along the way continue to help her to be a master of productivity and a master coach to so many people who love her so much. I love her myself, and I can't wait to introduce you to her. Let's go listen to the episode together now. Hi, I'm Dr. Christine Lee, and I'm a psychologist and a procrastination coach. I've helped thousands of people move past procrastination and overwhelm so they could begin working to their potential. In this podcast, you're going to learn powerful strategies for getting your mind, body, and energy to work together so that you can focus on what's really important and accomplish the goals you want to achieve. When you start living within your full power, you're going to see how being productive can be easy and how you can create success on demand. Welcome to the Make Time for Success podcast. Hi, everyone. I have to share with you that my energy is already a mile high because I'm sitting across the screen from Shafonne Myers, my special guest for today, and her energy is just, I think, baseline sky high. And I don't actually know how much higher it goes, but I'm really looking forward to getting to know Shafonne more in this interview and having her tell us about her story, about what she loves to do, and to have her teach us a few things about being visible, showing up as yourself, developing personal comfort, I would say, even in public. We're going to talk about all the things. So welcome, Shafonne. Please tell us about yourself.
Oh my gosh, that was so exciting. I'm like, yay, I'm so excited to talk. Like, it's so funny when we met in person and it's like, I still feel that energy even through a computer. I can like feel that energy that we had.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for having me. Oh, wow. A little bit about me, man. So I started off, as most people do not know, I was actually a science and math teacher. Like, I was a science and math high school teacher, and I loved my kids. And then I realized that I was really into weddings and planning events. And even when I was in college, I ran all the social events on campus. I ran that organization. So it's social events and weddings have been in my blood. So then I went into the weddings. I became a wedding planner. I started a wedding blog. And so when I started the wedding blog, I was a plus size bride. And so I knew that it was this big void of people showing up and seeing plus size brides. And especially being a plus size bride, I couldn't see anyone that looked like me. And so I really think that's where a lot of the visibility really started coming in for me and showing up as my true authentic self, because I saw that I was struggling because I didn't see anyone who looked like me. I didn't see any brides in magazines that looked like me. I didn't see any brides in publications. And we just had our 19-year anniversary in March of this year. So it's been a hot minute.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Even 19 years ago, it was unheard of for you to see any type of plus size bride, full figure, curvy, whatever you want to call, anywhere in social or on magazines for weddings. And so kind of getting into it, I realized like there's this big world of people that are not showing up because they don't see inspiration that looks like them. And so it's just a natural like a natural born thing that if you don't see someone that looks like you anywhere, you're going to shrink back. You're not going to show up. You're not going to be bold and be out there. And so I saw this in the wedding industry. And then I became a member of a wedding media company. And it was 30 of us wedding bloggers came together, created a wedding hub, essentially, where all of our publications were in one place. And then about 2 years ago, I bought it out. I just was like, I'm going to be the CEO. It kind of dwindled down to only 4 of us. And they were like, what do we do? I was like, well, I don't want it to die. So I kind of took it over. And so now in the wedding industry, it's like a media company and digital marketing agency that I own. And I have 10 publications that I have in it that I own throughout the 25 that are in it. And it has really solidified this love of showing people what can be the possibility from the couple side. They want to see inspiration that looks like them. So everything is very niche. We have ones that are for like mountainside brides. We have Brooklyn bride. We have elegant and classic brides. But all of these publications I own, they all focus on making sure that people are seen. And I started realizing, oh my gosh, this theme is running through all of my life, running through all of my businesses. So it was the natural progression to kind of create a PR and marketing and sales firm that helps entrepreneurs show up, be seen, step into their light, step into where they shine. And so it's kind of crazy how everyone's like, this is so random. But when you look at everything, it's not. Like, it's been an underlying tone of visibility, showing up, being seen, helping people be seen. And so that's kind of a little bit about me and how I got to where I am. But it's so random and crazy. People are always like, wow. And I'm like, yeah, that's me.
Okay. I am thinking the only thing that doesn't really fit is the science and math teacher part, but that's okay. Thank you for being the teacher when you were the teacher. And I love that everything does make sense, right? Even though if people don't really see how it connects, it sounds like a wonderful story and like a huge success story. My first question is, why weddings, I guess? Because you said that you were interested in that area even before you yourself were a bride, correct?
Yes. No, it was, because even when I was in college, I planned events and it was so crazy. In college, there's always a board or organization that plans all the social events on campus. And so I ran that board. So I had like 500 people underneath me, and we were running all types of social events, magicians and parties. And I was like, oh, I like events. And so it was just a natural transition to kind of go into weddings and event planning. And even in my PR world, people ask me, they're like, hey, I need to, like, a client will be like, I need to plan this. So I can do that. I used to be a wedding planner, an event planner. So that's really where I came for the love of just having parties and showcasing people. And once again, allowing people to be visible, like vendors. And it was just so crazy how things play out like that.
Okay. So not only did you like events, I'm assuming you have maybe a love of organization or a knack for it or both. Can you describe that?
Oh my gosh, it's so funny because it really is. Like, I think it's funny because I left wedding planning because I am not a design person. Swear for goodness, it is the craziest thing. I will tell you, my husband does all of our interior design. My husband does he's like, do you like this? And I'm like, I guess it looks okay. So I enjoyed the organizing part, the logistics part of weddings and events, not so much the design. And that's kind of where I left, because they started getting like all these big designs and all these floral installations. And I was like, yeah, I am not a creative person like that. Uh-huh. So yes, I definitely love the organizational part of things.
Okay. And there's always a part in my interviews where I ask people, where were the doubts? Where were the feelings, if you had any way back then, that this may not go as planned, that you're in over your head, that who are you to think this would be a good idea? Any stories of those hiccups or those feelings where you felt like I'm not where I need to be to do this well?
Oh my gosh. I love this question. And I can tell you too, that literally popped into my mind. When I first created my wedding blog, so my wedding blog is specifically for plus size brides. And it's the only one in the world. And so I created it in 2011. And when I created it, number one, no one was talking about plus size brides. No one. It was like we were the redheaded stepchildren. We existed, but we were the redheaded stepchildren. And it's like, I had to be comfortable enough in myself, number one, as a plus size woman, to be able to step forward and talk and inspire plus size women. And that's something that can be so hard because the light is shown on you then. Like it shines on you. People are like, oh, you're creating this. And then I got a lot of pushback from even plus size brides themselves being like, I don't want to be featured on your site because I don't want to be categorized as plus size. And I had to be like, okay, we all are into the category of being plus size, curvy, we have all different words, but I had to be comfortable with really stepping forward and being the champion for plus size brides. And that was hard because as confident as I am, when you're going against the grain, that confidence can dwindle real quick because you have people that are like, what are you doing? Why are you doing something like this is what we do over here? You typically see this type of bride on the cover. You typically see this type of bride in inspiration. This is what you see. You don't see this. And I was like, no, but we should see everybody. Like, there are all different sizes and all different, and it was hard. It was a lot of doubt. Like, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Is this where I'm supposed to be going? And you know what, almost like 12, 13 years later, it's like, I still get the messages. Like, you changed my life. Like seeing your images, seeing the images that you share, seeing imagery that looks like me changed my life. So I knew it was just that ego creeping in, trying to keep me safe 100%. So that was the first one. And I think the second time is more recent, taking over the media company and it's called Owl Society. It's like taking it over and being the CEO of a company where I own like 10 wedding publications that are very prominent in the wedding industry. Most people don't even know that I own them because I just keep a very low profile, like a low key. And then we also have a software that goes with it that I own. And it's like, when I tell people, they're like, oh crap, you own that? And I'm like, yeah. So doubt crept up because it's like, once again, you have to be visible. Like I had to step forward as the CEO, as the personal brand, as the person that is at the helm of what I'm trying to do in the wedding industry that's changing the paradigm. We're not good. Everyone doesn't look one way. There's so many different ways that everyone looks when they're getting married, as couples, relationships, all of that. And I am stepping forward as that person that's championing to show that, championing to make sure that's seen in the marketplace. And it's scary because not everyone wants to see that. Not everyone wants that to be seen. And I had to realize that I have to be that person to kind of step forward and be the speaker for so many people.
I'm having flashbacks to my own wedding, which I think is maybe very tangential, but I felt the pressure of tradition, and they weren't really necessarily my traditions. So through a series of thoughts, I got to that flashback of my own wedding, and that I was trying to do things just a little bit off the side and a little bit unconventionally. I got so much pushback. And then you make me think that the wedding industry in particular is very rigid with what you're allowed to do, how you're supposed to, like, you can only wear white. And that's part of what I was trying to challenge. And, and then adding the plus size, all of that, like invisibility, not welcome, not seen, not promoted, not supported, not available for stuff in there that you're taking on. Wow. So I'm glad we're having this conversation because we think that, this is available for everyone and everybody has the same opportunities and everybody can dream their dream, but there are lots of rules and invisible rules and rigidity and traditions that all of us have to kind of navigate and be aware of and fight against when there's room and a desire and a need. So thank you for being that person, because I'm thinking you're creating space for all sorts of people, right? Not just the plus size brides, as you're saying, because now you're a media mogul too. Yep. So yes.
And I think that's why I didn't realize, it's like at the crux of what I do, I just want people to be seen and feel seen. Like literally, that's my overall. I want everyone to be seen and feel seen. Is that in the wedding industry? Yes. Is that with all of my wedding publications? Yes. Is that with entrepreneurs to help them show up and be seen to sell and market themselves and get like it? It just, once you realize this underlying theme in your life, you can start seeing where it's been all of your life. Like, even going back to childhood and being the person like, oh, no one wants to play with them. Hey, girl, come play with me. I'll play on the monkey bars with you. I'll play on the playground with you because I want you to feel seen. And that was at a young age, I remember doing those things and being told that's how I was. So it's very interesting when you start seeing that theme that emerges and how it is on all of your aspects of your life.
Now that you're a media mogul, are there other areas where maybe there's pushback and you're wanting to, I don't know what your future plans are, like where you want to take this. And are there traditions, certain people, certain rules that you're coming into contact with that are causing you to be like, whoa, I didn't realize this was like that, or I need to be more visible?
I'd actually even see kind of even in the PR side of things, the agency side of things, and like the Shafonne Myers consulting side, because I think there's still this stigma of people not wanting to show up because of this fear of judgment. And there's so many fears of judgment, let's be completely honest, but specifically around how we look. Because in this coaching culture, in this course creator culture, it's like you are once again being shown what it's supposed to look like. And even if I was to say, yeah, I see a plus size Black person who is a Black female, who is on TV, who is always doing talk shows, who is always being tapped to be in publicity. I don't see that really. So it's like, it's still this stigma of it looks a certain way. And I think that's still that thing that I'm butting up against now, kind of in this new iteration of what I'm doing, is that it's still there. People are still hiding. People are still scared to be visible because of all of these things that I've seen over the years. And now it's just a different demographic.
How do you overcome any of that internalized voice that says, you know what? You can stay small. You own the company already. Other people can be the face of it, or other people can promote this, or, kind of all the different anxiety-based excuses that we can make to not actually go the distance, to not really be the leader, the face, the person, the recognizable personality. And your personality shines so bright. So I know you from before we know each other, because I've seen you in the circles and on social media and things like that. So I feel like I knew you before we actually met. But how do you overcome your own twinges? Because I think as we're talking and you're telling me about what you've built, you're trying to help people with their own internal twinges. Like, yes, people want to be seen, I think, and generally, and that maybe they're saying, I have to hide because I'm plus sized, or because I'm in this region, or whatever story they have in their head. So I guess I'm bringing the question back to you. How do you keep going despite these doubts?
You know what I'm going to say? And I know I feel like it's always that cliche or that thing that everyone's like, oh, okay. But I swear the one thing that I am always kind of brought back to my center, brought back to my grounding whenever I get in my head, whenever that voice gets extremely loud, is, what is your why? Why are you doing this, Shafonn? And at the end of the day, I'm doing it because I want people to be seen and I want them to feel seen. And it's like, that literally is like my motto. And I'm always running that in my mind. And I'm always like, okay, great. You don't necessarily want to step out onto the stage, or you don't necessarily want to put this offer out, or you don't necessarily want to do this because you're scared of what's going to happen. You're scared of being seen. You're scared of what someone's going to say. No. What is your why? I want people to be seen and feel seen. That's what I'm doing with anything I'm creating, anything I'm doing, any post that I do, any podcast that I do. I just want to be able to help someone feel seen and be seen. And so I think for most people, and anyone who I've coached or talked to or done any presentations to, if you can know what that is and always come back to that, that's how you come back to that center. That's how you eradicate and I literally call the mean girl. Like, when I talk about it a lot with like my couples or my brides or anywhere I talk, I'm like, yeah, that mean girl is loud. Like, she can be super loud and she can be a major B sometimes. But it's like, to get over her and to quiet her, she doesn't want you to remember your why. She doesn't want you to remember that. But if you remember that, instantly you're brought back. And you're like, okay, I know what I need to do. Ma'am, I need you to go take that seat back there and go to the back of the bus and not be so loud right now.
I love it. You're making me think of Elizabeth Gilbert. And I think
Yes.
somewhere she says like, fear rides with us, but it never takes the wheel, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
And
I love that.
I kind of like that because it's like those voices are going to be cropping up. I think especially when we're about to elevate and we're about to kind of walk into new territory, that's when the fear gets really loud and gets really...
I was about to say, girl, that's when she is literally the loudest.
And the meanest.
Because she knows that you're butting up there. She knows that you're, and I say she because I'm she, so I always kind of, but it could be he, whatever, they, however you want to relate it. But I always am like, that's when I know that I'm on the precipice of something big, when she is very loud. When it is kind of that constant that I'm hearing, I was like, oh, something's about to happen. I'm about to up level. I'm about to go to the next video game level. And it's like, but that's when you actually need to hear her, but also put her in check and say, no, this is my why. This is what I'm centered to. And I need to ground to this.
I love this. Okay. Now I'm going to shift a little bit to productivity because
Ooh, yes.
I imagine that having to be responsible for so many different moving parts and literally moving pieces like magazines that you have some sort of secret when it comes to productivity and kind of keeping yourself, because your energy is always great. And at least that's what I've seen, right?
Now
And
you see good. Now you get my husband
right.
or my kids and they be like, well, not all the time.
Yeah. So tell us what we're not seeing. Tell us what you have succeeded at figuring out for yourself so that you can be a very high level performer.
I think for me, the biggest thing, especially in the productivity realm, is showing myself grace. Like I am 100%. You catch me on a certain day and I'm like, the world is falling apart. Oh my gosh. Like everything's burning down. And most people are like, okay, this is not normal. This is not your normal stage. And I realize that in those moments, I have to give myself grace and understand there's a reason why I'm feeling this way. There's a reason why I'm feeling like everything's burning down, everything's on fire. And most often, usually 99% of the time, I have overstocked myself. I have overextended myself. And for me, I'm very much someone who realizes that I have to have my own balance. And that balance looks different on different days. That balance looks different on different times of the seasons of my life. But I have to have that balance. And I have to have where I go and I sit outside on my patio and play with my dog during the day. I have to have where literally I'm taking, my husband jokes, I'm taking my lunch break. And because when you work from home, it's literally like 15, 20, 30 minutes and I'm watching reality TV. But those are my moments that I build into my schedule because I need those to decompress. I need those so that I can come back to what I'm doing and be the happy-go-lucky, cheery person that I am. And I have seen when I don't do those things, that's when it goes off the rails. Because I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, I didn't give myself my white space. Oh, I didn't give myself my time to go out and kind of be alone and be in, being nature. But that comes with giving myself grace and realizing when I don't do those things and just correcting.
Yes. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing those moments because I think they're really important. They're just as important as the times when we're on and producing and creating is having the time to protect your mind and your body and your energy. So thank you for sharing that with me because just before we press record, that was a question I didn't ask is kind of how are you doing all of these things, right? And being energetically healthy. So thank you. And thanks to your husband and family
I know,
as well.
Like I said, that if I bring him on, he's like, well, y'all see a different side than we see most times. But it is, and I think it really has, that has been something I'd say in the past year that I've really been intentional about. I'll say mastering, but it's always mastering. Not like I have mastered, but I'm always mastering it. But I've been very intentional with these are my hours. I do not communicate past these hours. But once again, I say grace and giving myself grace because we are very hard on ourselves when we put those boundaries and parameters in place. But that's where that grace comes in, and knowing like, okay, I wanted to respond to that email. I know I shouldn't. I'm going to give myself grace because I understand why I might want to, but I'm also going to say, no, I'm not going to. And I've been very intentional the past year about really mastering that.
Yes, it's probably necessary.
Yes.
Yes, at the level you're at. Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your experience and what you've been through, what you've learned, what you're learning. I love that point in particular, that it's not like a point of mastery. It's just like every day includes a lesson or an experience or a part of that process of feeling like a master, feeling like you can keep things kind of flying, right? So that's good. That's good. I know I have other questions, and they are around this new part of your business or newer part of the business around consulting with coaches, entrepreneurs, course creators, so that they can be the success that they feel they want to be there, so that they can fulfill their why too. Can you share with us maybe one or two core lessons that you're trying to communicate with people?
I think when we look at visibility, when we look at showing up, when we look at really taking your business to the next level, there's definitely some things that I always try to share with people. Number one is really concentrating on the creation and the building of your personal brand. And I think, me included, for so long, I hid behind my brands. I hid behind my wedding blogs. I hid behind even being the CEO of my media company in the beginning, because I didn't feel that anyone wanted to see who was behind. They just wanted everything to run. They just wanted it all to run, but they didn't want to see who the person was. And I realized when I had a conversation with someone and I was talking about my brand, and they were like, oh yeah, I love that brand. Oh my gosh, it's helped me so much. And it was literally my media company. They're like, I've submitted to them. I've gotten so much press. I've gotten so much publicity by being featured on the different publications. And I was like, oh my gosh, that makes me so glad because I own that. And they're like, you own that? And I was like, yeah, I haven't really told people. I don't really step forward. And they're like, oh my gosh, I would talk about it more. I would tell my friends about it more if I knew that it was you, because I genuinely care about you and like you and trust you as a person. So that just makes me want to talk about it even more. In that moment, I knew a personal brand is so powerful when you have a brand, when you have a company, because people are not just buying your product, your offer, your service, they're buying into you. And at that moment, I realized like, oh shoot, this is powerful. This is where so many people don't concentrate, and they should. Because when you want to get on TV, when you want to make those sales, when you want to market yourself, a personal brand has to be created and known and trust for people to actually take that to the next level. And I think that's when you get out of that rat race of a hustle, trying to do all this social and try to do all this stuff. Like, you are building a personal brand yourself, and it stands out above and beyond anything else. So I'd say that's always where I start. I'll always start there. And then the second thing that I always tell people about is when you're looking at PR, publicity, whatever that is, I know everyone always wants to go top tier. Everyone always wants to do top tier. Oh, I want to be on Today's Show. I want to be and that's great, but that's so hard. And it's like you cut it off at the knee. Like, you cut off so much when you try to attain and go to that top tier, when really in actuality, top tier is great. And we've talked about this. Top tier is great, but top tier doesn't always bring in the sales. Like, people are like, oh, I'm going to get on Today's Show and my business is going to blow up. And I'm like, ooh. It might not, because that's a huge demographic. It might not be specifically yours. And so I always have to tell and remind people there's so many other different tiers that you can go into, different options for you that are not always that top tier, that connect you so much more in sales, in brand awareness, and really propelling you forward into your next level. That's not just that top tier.
Okay. So that second tip was operate smart. It sounds like.
Yes. Oh, I love how you, yes.
Yeah. I think with any business, there are things that can be really appealing, but they're actually more of a waste of your time, unfortunately, than it might appear, because they're shiny and because they're known. But yeah, getting your brand to the right people and your services and your personality and your message is super important, super, super important. I think you are a star. Thank you for being the leader and the person and the creator and the helper that you are in the world. I'm really touched by your presence and by this conversation.
Yay.
So thank you for being here with me and for being here with our audience as well on the Make Time for Success podcast. Please let us know how people can read your magazines, be in touch with you, and or work with you. Let us know what the ways are.
Sure. I always tell people I personally love to play on Instagram. That's like my true playground. So, and I'm at Shafonne Myers, and that literally you can get to all of my wedding stuff. You can get to all my consulting stuff. That's kind of what I like to call my personal brand hub. It's the house of Shafonne. That's where like you go and you can see everything that I do, everything that I work on. But if you want to find me online, it's still the same, ShafonneMyers.com as well. And that also has how you can work with me, how we can do any consulting or kind of get into whatever you're looking at. I have a lot of free content over there. So it's stuff that you can go and find there too.
Thank you. I want to back up following Shafonne on Instagram, because on social media, that's just a class in itself to just follow Shafonne. It's a class on showing up really powerfully as yourself. And so I want to just put in a plug there, if I may, and want to wish you the best. And thank you so much again for being here.
Well, that makes me feel amazing, because that's literally what my purpose is. Like, just to be the inspiration for people. That is my purpose. And it's like, at the end of the day, as long as I'm doing that, I'm living out my purpose. And that makes me so happy that you feel that, because then I know I'm on the right track. I know I'm doing what I need to be doing.
I know you're on the right track. I hope you know that too. Thank you everyone for being here. Thank you, Shafonne. And let's get on that right track. Let's be the people we need to be. Let's remember the why. Let's show up when we have those opportunities. Let's create more opportunities. If we need more and want more, it's going to be okay. Thank you so much. And thanks for making time for success with me today. I'll see you next week. Take care. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Make Time for Success podcast. If you enjoyed what you've heard, you can subscribe to make sure you get notified of upcoming episodes. You can also visit our website, maketimeforsuccesspodcast.com, for past episodes, show notes, and all the resources we mention on the show. Feel free to connect with me over on Instagram too. You can find me there under the name Procrastination Coach. Send me a DM and let me know what your thoughts are about the episodes you've been listening to. And let me know any topics that you might like me to talk about on the show. I'd love to hear all about how you're making time for success. Talk to you soon.